A man was sitting in a bar and noticed a group of people using sign language. He also noticed that the bartender was using sign language to speak to them. When the bartender returned to him, the man asked how he had learned to use sign language. The bartender explained that these were regular customers and had taught him to speak in signs. The man thought that was great. A few minutes later, the man noticed that the people in the group were waving their hands around very wildly. The bartender looked over and signed, "Now cut that out. I warned you," and threw the group out of the bar. The man asked why he had done that, and the bartender said, "If I told them once, I told them 100 times. And no singing in the bar." Tom was getting ready to marry Christine, so his father sat him down for a little talk. He said, "Tom, let me tell you something. On my wedding night, I took off my pants, handed them to your mother, and said, 'Here, try these on.' She did and said, 'These are too big. I can't wear them.' I told her, exactly where the pants in this family, and I always will. And from that night on, we never had a problem. Groups, reels, marketplace." Tom thought that was good advice. So, on his honeymoon, he took off his pants, handed them to Christine, and said, "Here, try these on." She tried them on and said, "These are too big. They don't fit me." Tom smiled and said, "Exactly. I wear the pants in this family, and I always will." See more. Christine didn't miss a beat. She took off her pants, handed them to Tom, and said, "Here, try these on." He struggled a bit and said, "I can't get into your pants." Christine smirked and said, "Exactly. And if you don't change that smart-ass attitude, you aren't going to." During the wedding rehearsal, the groom approached the pastor with an unusual offer. "Look, I'll give you $100 if you'll change the wedding vows. When you get to the part where I'm supposed to promise to love, honor, and obey, and be faithful to her forever, I'd appreciate it if you just leave that out." He passed the minister a $100 bill and walked away satisfied. On the day of the wedding, when it came time for the groom's vows, the pastor looked the young man in the eye and said, "Will you promise to prostrate yourself before her, obey her every command and wish, serve her breakfast in bed every morning of your life, and swear eternally before God and your lovely wife that you will not ever even look at another woman, as long as you both shall live?" The groom gulped and looked around and said in a tiny voice, "Yes," then leaned toward the pastor and hissed, "I thought we had a deal." The pastor put a $100 bill into the groom's hand and whispered, "She made me a better offer." After nearly 50 years of marriage, a couple was lying in bed one evening when the wife felt her. Husband began to massage her in ways he hadn't in quite some time. It almost tickled as his fingers started at her neck and then began moving down past the small of her back. He then caressed her shoulders and neck, slowly worked his hand down, stopping just over her stomach. He then proceeded to place his hand on her left inner arm, working down her side, passing gently over her buttock and down her leg to her calf. Then he proceeded up her thigh, stopping just at the uppermost portion of her leg. He continued in the same manner on her right side, then suddenly stopped, rolled over, and became silent. As she had become quite aroused by this caressing, she asked in a loving voice, "Honey, that was wonderful. Why did you stop?" To which he responded, "I found the remote." One day, I accidentally overturned my golf cart. Elizabeth, a very attractive and keen golfer who lived in a villa on the golf course, heard the noise and called out, "Are you okay? What's your name?" "I'm Phil, and I'm okay, thanks," I replied. "Phil, forget your troubles. Come to my villa, rest a while, and I'll help you get the cart up later." "That's mighty nice of you," I answered, "but I don't think my wife would like it." "Oh, come on," Elizabeth insisted. She was very pretty, very sexy, and persuasive. And I was weak. "Well, okay." I finally agreed and added, "But my wife won't like it." After a few restorative brandies and some creative putting lessons, I thanked my hostess. "I feel a lot better now, but I know my wife is going to be really upset." "Don't be silly," Elizabeth said with a smile. "She won't know anything. By the way, where is she?" "Under the cart," I said. Worried that his son was spending too much money on dates, Jay's father asked how much his last date had cost. Jay calculated a minute, then replied, "Oh, about $15 or so, I think." "Well," said his father, "I'm proud of you for finally coming up with an inexpensive evening." "To be honest, Dad," Jay went on, "we'd have done more, but that was all the money she had." Smith went on a date in a brand new Range Rover Sport ride with his new girlfriend of 1 month. "Smith, I have been hiding a secret from you, and I think you'll break up with me if I tell you the truth." "Girl, what is that, my love?" "Smith, I'm already married and have 3 kids." Girl, pat him on the lap and hissed, "You scared the out of me. I thought you wanted to say this beautiful car is not yours." After 4 years of separation, a man and his wife finally divorced amicably. He wanted to date again, but he had no idea of how to start, so he decided to look in the personals column of the local newspaper. After reading through all the listings, he circled 3 that seemed possible in terms of age and interest, but he put off calling them. 2 days later, there was a message on his answering machine from his ex-wife. "I came over to your house to borrow some tools today and saw the ad you circled in the paper. Don't call the one in the second column. It's me." A young man showed up to his date's house and told her they were going to have an awesome time that evening. "What are we doing?" she asked. "I got 3 tickets to a concert." "Why would we need 3 tickets?" his date asked. "The tickets are for your parents and sister." A boy was feeling very nervous about his first date, and so went to his father for advice. "My son, there are 3 subjects that always work with women: food, family, and philosophy." The boy picks up his date, and they stare at each other for a long time. The boy's nervousness builds, but he then remembers his father's advice and asks the girl, "Do you like potato pancakes?" "No," comes the answer, and the silence returns like a suffocating blanket. "Do you have a brother?" "No." After giving it some thought, the boy plays his last card. "If you had a brother, would he like potato pancakes?" An elderly Jewish man is on his deathbed. Summoning his last bit of strength, he lifts his head and whispers, "Is my beloved wife, Sarah, here with me?" And Sarah says, "Yes, I am here." He then says, "Are my children, my wonderful children, here with me?" And they reply, "Yes, Father, we are here with you to see you breathe your last." And he says, "And my beautiful grandchildren, are they here with me as well?" And they too tell him that they are here. The old man lays back quietly, closes his eyes, and says, "If everybody is here, why is the light on in the kitchen?" Ma was in the kitchen fiddling around when she hollered out, "Pa, you need to go out and fix the outhouse." Pa replies, "There isn't anything wrong with it." Ma yells back, "Yes, there is. Now get out there and fix it." So, Pa moseys out to the outhouse, looks around, and yells back, "Ma, there isn't anything wrong with this outhouse, honey." Ma replies, "Stick your head in the hole." Pa yells back, "I'm not sticking my head in that hole." Ma says, "You have to stick your head in the hole to see what to fix." So with that, Pa sticks his head in the hole, looks around, and yells back, "Ma, dadgummit, there ain't anything wrong with this outhouse." Ma hollers back, "Now take your head out of the hole." Pa proceeds to pull his head out of the hole, and then starts yelling, "Ma, help. My beard is stuck in the cracks in the toilet seat." To which Ma replies, "Hurts, doesn't it?" An old lady is on her deathbed. Her husband asks, "Is there anything at all I can do for you?" She replies, "In all these years I have never had the pleasure of oral sex, and I'd like that very much." He pulls the curtain back around her hospital bed and starts getting busy. A few moments later, the heart monitor flatlines, and alarms start going off. The doctor rushes in and asks the husband what happened, to which he replies, "I'm not exactly sure, but I think she choked to death." A new guy starts working at the local mental asylum. After giving him some general indications, the director tells him to ask any question he may have. "Yes, director, I have one. How do we know if a patient is cured and ready to leave the asylum?" "Well," says the director, "once per year, we gather some of them and ask them a question. If they answer it correctly, then they are cured and are free to go. The director gathers 3 patients for a demonstration. So, resident 121, what is 6 times 6? 1,000, says the first one. Well, no, that's another year here for you. The director proceeds to ask the second patient the same question. Well, the answer is February. My God. No, it isn't. You're staying here 1 more year. Finally, the director asks the question to the third patient. What is 6 times 6? Obviously, it's 36. The director cheers the third patient and proceeds to communicate to the asylum staff that he is ready to leave. The new guy asks the patient before he leaves, "Good job answering correctly. How did you know it?" Well, it was easy. I divided 1,000 by 2. The old man on his deathbed and catches the smell of arugula, his favorite. It rouses him, and he climbs out of bed and heads down to the kitchen. There he spots his beloved wife of over 60 years. "You made arugula? My love." With strength returning, he reaches out for a tasty treat, and his wife slaps his hand away. "Don't touch. These are for the wake." A 54-year-old woman had a heart attack and was taken to the hospital. While on the operating table, she had a near-death experience. Seeing God, she asked, "Is my time up?" God said, "No, you have another 43 years, 2 months, and 8 days to live." Upon recovery, the woman decided to stay in the hospital and have a facelift, liposuction, breast implants, and a tummy tuck. She even had someone come in and change her hair color and brighten her teeth. Since she had so much more time to live, she figured she might as well make the most of it. After her last operation, she was released from the hospital. While crossing the street on her way home, she was killed by an ambulance. Arriving in front of God, she demanded, "I thought you said I had another 43 years. Why didn't you pull me from the path of the ambulance?" God replied, "I didn't recognize you." A blonde woman walks into a bank in NYC before going on vacation and asks for a $5,000 loan. The banker asks, "Okay, miss, is there anything you would like to use as collateral?" The woman says, "Yes, of course. I'll use my Rolls-Royce." The banker, stunned, asks, "A $250,000 Rolls-Royce? Really?" The woman is completely positive. She hands over the keys as the bankers and loan officers laugh at her. They check her credentials and make sure she is the title owner. Everything checks out. They park it in their underground garage for 2 weeks. When she comes back, she pays off the $5,000 loan as well as the $15.41 interest. The loan officer says, "Miss, we are very appreciative of your business with us, but I have one question. I looked you up and found out that you are a multimillionaire. Why would you want to borrow $5,000? The woman replies, "Where else in New York City can I park my car for 2 weeks for only $15.41 and expect it to be there when I return?" They caught a foreign thief, but the translator had other plans. A group of Russian police officers arrested a foreign man suspected of stealing gold. Since he didn't speak their language, they brought in a translator. The officer leaned in and said coldly, "Ask him where he hid the gold. If he doesn't talk, it's going to get very bad for him." The translator turned to the thief and repeated the message. The man immediately panicked. I'll tell you, he said. "I buried it in the corner of that empty field over there." The translator nodded slowly, then turned back to the officers. He says, the translator replied calmly, "You could do whatever you want. He's not telling you anything." A man goes to visit his grandparents and is shocked to see his grandpa sitting on the porch in a rocking chair, wearing only a shirt, nothing from the waist down. "Grandpa, what are you doing? You're out here with everything on display for the whole world to see." The old man just stares off into the distance, saying nothing. "Seriously, Grandpa, why are you sitting out here half naked?" Slowly, Grandpa turns to him and says, "Well, last week I sat out here without a shirt on and ended up with a stiff neck. This was your grandma's idea." A man gets pulled over for speeding. As the officer approaches, the man blurts out, "Officer, can I step out of the car?" The cop nods. Once outside, the officer asks, "All right, care to explain why you were speeding?" The man sighs and gestures toward the car. See the woman in the passenger seat? That's my wife. The woman in the back? My mother-in-law. She's been living with us for the past 3 months. The officer raises an eyebrow. Go on. This morning, they had a huge fight. My mother-in-law said she was done with us and insisted I take her home. I'm just trying to get her there before they make up, because if they do, she'll come back with us. The officer pauses, then bursts out laughing. Get back in your car. I'm giving you a police escort. Lights and sirens included, so she gets home safely. A defense attorney was cross-examining a police officer during a felony trial. It went like this. Q. Officer, did you see my client fleeing the scene? A. No, sir, but I subsequently observed a person matching the description of the offender running several blocks away. Q. Officer, who provided this description? A. The officer who responded to the scene. Q. A fellow officer provided the description of this so-called offender. Do you trust your fellow officers? A. Yes, sir, with my life. Q. With your life? Let me ask you this then. Officer, do you have a locker room in the police station, a room where you change your clothes in preparation for your daily duties? A. Yes, sir, we do. Q. And do you have a locker in that room? A. Yes, sir, I do. Q. And do you have a lock on your locker? A. Yes, sir. Q. Now why is it, officer, if you trust your fellow officers with your life, that you find it necessary to lock your locker in a room you share with those same officers? A. You see, sir, we share the building with a court complex, and sometimes lawyers have been known to walk through that room. With that, the courtroom erupted in laughter, and a prompt recess was called. A police car pulled up in front of Grandma Bessie's house, and out stepped Grandpa Morris. The officer politely explained, Ma'am, your husband said he got lost in the park and couldn't find his way home. Grandma Bessie stared at Morris and said, Lost? You've been going to that park for 30 years. How'd you get lost today? Leaning in close so the officer couldn't hear, Grandpa whispered, I wasn't lost. I was just too tired to walk home. A policeman pulls over an old man driving a pickup truck with a bed overflowing with ducks. The officer says sternly, Sir, you can't have a flock of ducks wandering around downtown. Take them to the zoo immediately. The old man nods, agrees, and drives off. The next day, the officer spots the same pickup truck, still full of ducks, but this time, all the ducks are wearing sunglasses. Frustrated, the officer pulls the man over again and exclaims, I thought I told you to take these ducks to the zoo. The old man grins and replies, I did, but now the little rascals want to go to the beach. A little girl approached her father and said, Daddy, I wish I had a little sister. Trying to be funny, her dad replied, But honey, you do have a little sister. The toddler looked puzzled. I do, she asked. Of course, her dad teased. You never see her, because every time you come in the front door, she sneaks out the back. The little girl paused, thinking hard. Then her face lit up with a big smile. Oh, you mean just like my other daddy? 3 handsome male dogs are walking down the street when they see a beautiful, enticing female poodle. The 3 male dogs fall all over themselves in an effort to be the ones to reach her first, but end up arriving in front of her at the same time. The males are speechless before her beauty, slobbering on themselves and hoping for just a glance from her in return. Aware of her charms and her obvious effect on the 3 suitors, she decides to be kind and tells them, the first one who can use the words liver and cheese together in an imaginative, intelligent sentence can go out with me. The sturdy, muscular black lab speaks up quickly and says, I love liver and cheese. Oh, how childish, said the poodle. That shows no imagination or intelligence whatsoever. She turned to the tall, shiny golden retriever and said, How well can you do? I hate liver and cheese, blurts the golden retriever. My, said the poodle. I guess it's hopeless. That's just as dumb as the lab's sentence. She then turns to the last of the 3 dogs and says, How about you, little guy? The last of the 3, tiny in stature but big in fame and finesse, is the Chihuahua. He gives her a smile, a sly wink, turns to the golden retriever and the lab, and says, Leave it alone. She's mine. A teacher goes for a long walk on the beach. She finds a shiny magic lamp, picks it up, and rubs it. There is a puff of blue smoke, and a genie pops out. You have 3 wishes. I can give you anything in the world. If I fail, I must become your personal genie for eternity. The teacher thinks for a moment and says, for my first wish, I want jewels. Silver, gold, platinum, whatever you have. Poof, the jewels appear. For my second wish, I want karma. Lots of karma. Poof, the karma appears. The genie stares at the teacher, waiting for the third wish. I can give you anything in the world, he says again. The teacher thinks for a long time. As a teacher, I always hated careless mistakes from my students. I noticed that I accidentally wrote lamb instead of lamp. Please correct my mistake. The genie moaned in anguish. This is Reddit, he shouted. Once you post it, you can't edit the title. In that case, the teacher smiled. It looks like I've got myself a genie for eternity. Many years ago, on a long transcontinental flight, an elderly lady asked if she could visit the cockpit. When she got up there, she found 4 crew. She asked the first what he did, and he explained that he was the navigator and his responsibilities were to keep the aircraft on its track across Earth. She turned to the next one and asked what he did. He explained that he was the flight engineer and his job was to monitor and troubleshoot any aircraft or engine system problems to keep the aircraft operating smoothly. She turned to the next one and asked what he did. He explained that, as the captain, he was responsible for everything in the aircraft and to fly and direct everyone on it. She turned to the co-pilot and asked, well, young man, what is your job? The co-pilot replied, ma'am, I'm the captain's sexual advisor. Somewhat shocked, she said, I beg your pardon, young man, but what do you mean by that? Very simple, ma'am. The captain has told me on a number of occasions that when he wants my f***ing advice, he'll ask for it.